Welcome back to the fourth episode of Thoughts on a Thursday. Super excited we have made it to episode 4. As you can see, for those of you watching the video version, I am back with my friends, Jenn Hernandez, Keashawn, Hyde, and Chris Hollis. Folks, how are you?
Hello.
Doing good.
Yeah, doing good as well.
Love it, love it. Here we are back, episode 4. For those of you listening the audio version, you will hear from my friends momentarily. A quick side note before we jump in, we have to give some applause to one of the individuals on the podcast. Jenn Hernandez recently signed a full-time job with DraftKings, and in the matter of the last week has moved her entire life to Las Vegas, Nevada to pursue the job at DraftKings. So Jenn, congratulations on your new endeavor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, crazy move, but it was definitely the next step for me. So I'm pretty excited.
Absolutely. The full-time job is the one that we're all looking for, and happy that Jenn found it and is in Vegas, which a lot of big things going on in Vegas. Aces just won the championship, so big things in Vegas for Jenn.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of opportunities. So I'm excited to be here.
For sure. Well, we will jump. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying she's getting that Vegas money. So
That's right. And she works for a sports book, so maybe it'll grow. Anyways, for those of you that have listened to previous episodes, usually what we do on Thoughts on a Thursday, we pick a specific topic, just kind of jump into that topic from those of us that are currently pursuing a career in sport management. If you're new to this podcast, all 4 of us are currently enrolled in sport management programs. Jenn and I at Long Beach State, Keashawn and Chris at University of San Francisco. And we just thought it would be a cool time to get together amongst friends, talk about topics that are relevant to us, in hopes of helping those of you listening who are also pursuing your journey in sports. So this week's topic, we will jump right in, is going to be the idea of personal brand. Each of us has our own personal brand. There's different ways we can grow it. There's different ways we can maybe tear it down in a good way or a bad way. So just want to jump into the idea of personal brand. What does that look like? How do you grow it? What are maybe some things you can do to help with your personal brand? So I will throw it out to the group. Whoever wants to start can jump right in, but just kind of your thoughts on personal brand and what that looks like for you.
I mean, for me, I think your personal brand obviously starts with you, like in the physical sense. So, when someone meets you, obviously those first impressions are like super important. And then I think obviously the piece of like how you present yourself when, you're not around or when you're doing work or things like that all tie into your personal brand. And then obviously the social media aspect, nowadays people look to that to see like who you are, how you're presenting yourself, which I think, you can have different social medias where some aren't necessarily exposed to everything. But I think ultimately, like just being consistent and genuinely yourself, like is how you can always like up your personal brand. But yeah, I think the physical form of like you being presentable, like wherever you're at, is the main thing that I think starts your personal brand.
yeah, definitely. I agree, Jen. I think for me, personal branding is more so like, what people remember you as, right? Like when your name pops up on their phone screen or that email comes across, like, what do they think? It like when they see my name pop up, like, oh, Chris wants some money or Chris wants this, he wants that, right? That's part of your personal brand. People know you for what they know you for, right? I think it's super important though. Your personal brand is super important, right? The way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you enter rooms, how you dress, right? All that stuff is gonna help you gain a job. It's gonna maybe help you not get a job, right? If your personal brand is terrible. Social media, I think, plays a big part. And I think, we talk about LinkedIn a lot. I think LinkedIn is like one of the most like helpful ways of promoting a professional brand for yourself, and really getting, getting your brand out there, right? And then, you got Instagram and TikTok as well too. Those are two platforms that I use to promote my brand. And I really think that, yeah, branding is a lifestyle, right? And I think it can help you tremendously if you do it right. And ultimately that's when we, talk about like everything that we know, right? We're in the sports industry. We talk about brands. We got Nike, we got Adidas, Reebok, things like that, right? Those are all brands, and they're super big on how they market their brand, their brand voice, and how people remember them. So yeah, I just try to kind of emulate what Nike and all those other ones, those big brands do, and kind of take bits and pieces and add it to my personal brand and make sure that I'm creating a great brand voice and consistent, right, with my brand, my personal brand per se. So.
Yeah. And to what Chris just said, like personal brand is a lifestyle, and I definitely agree with that. It's how you present yourself to the world. And I like to think of a personal brand like, say when you say someone's name or when you think of that person, I feel like there's like a word that you also think of when you think of that person, because it's like, that's what reminds you of that person or whatnot, and I think like with personal brand, like for someone specifically, like you should definitely focus on your strengths, your talents, like what makes you unique. And that also comes with being yourself and being genuine, being 100% you in the field. And I think like recognizing that definitely takes some emotional intelligence to an extent, but like highlighting that, be that, um, if that's your strength, like share that off in the workplace. And I think like definitely like coworkers can see that, you know. And yeah, that's like one of my biggest thing. I'm like very family oriented, so I try to share like that community, that support. And I feel like, even if I'm working with students or with athletes, like I want them to feel that, and I think that's like important, and so that's just like a strength that I guess that I recognize about myself, and I try to carry that, when I step into a workplace, and I give that 110%, if I can. And I think like with personal brand, like people can see that, that you're delivering good work and that you're showing up, putting in your best effort.
Yeah, I think for me, the example that came to mind, and just in the idea of personal brand, right? There, you can increase your personal brand or you can decrease your personal brand. And I think there's two, at least from my thought, is you can increase it in two different areas, right? When the lights are on, per se, or when the lights are off. So I'll use the example, and I know it's been mentioned in a previous episode, but Chris and Keashawn and myself currently all intern with USC Game Management, right? When the lights are on, Sunday, game day, we get to be on the field. We get to work the VIP entrance. We get to work the media entrance. The lights are on. There's a lot of eyes on us. A lot of people are watching us. What are they going to do? How are they going to act? Are they going to be respectful? We're interacting with these famous people, these well-known people, right? It's a lot easier to have your personal brand on and trying to increase when the lights are on. I think where you can really increase your personal brand is when the lights are off, per se, when the eyes maybe aren't on you, right? So for game days, our crew has to come in the Friday the day before, and it's long hours. It's usually hot, unfortunately, and we've got to work hard. And when the game's over, we've got to work hard, and we've got to work late hours, and we've worked multiple games into the 1 a.m. and the 2 a.m. hours. And those when the lights are off, and there maybe aren't as many eyes on you, but it's just as important to build your personal brand that way, because there are eyes on you, whether it's the fellow interns, whether in our case it's the grad assistants, whether it's other people that work in facilities at USC. There's still eyes on us, and we're still always building our brand, whether positively or negatively. And so I think just as important as it is to be working on your brand when the lights are on and when it's game time and when it's go time, it's just as important to focus on that when the lights are off. Maybe not as many eyes are on you, and you really have a chance to stand out there and give it your all.
Yeah, I mean, that just makes me think of like one of my core values personally and professionally, which is integrity. So, I mean, that, that encompasses like what you just said, Kasey, as far as like, what kind of work are you going to do when no one else is watching? Like just earlier, a couple months ago at the Rose Bowl, I had to help um put the like things together for the marketing for the premium for the upcoming football season. And it was like I went to the locker room and by myself, no one else is there. And it's just like, okay, I could have easily just put things in a box and like call like the boxes and called it a day. But instead I was like, no, I'm gonna completely redo this whole locker room. and like and so I did. So just an example of just like I wasn't told to do that, but at the end of the day it's like being in that closet, no one was watching, it wasn't part of my task, but like integrity, like what I would have wanted someone else to do, like had I like tasked them that, like that's how I always go in, and that's just like part of my personal brand. And like I said, personally but also professionally, it's like I'm always going to do what I feel like something more than that should be done in the right way.
Yeah, I think that's great, Jen. Like just being in the position that I'm in currently as like a manager, like when I like hear that from people, like managers want to hire people like that because they know they can trust and rely on people like that, because you're gonna get the job done, you're gonna go above and beyond, you're gonna make sure it's done correctly. And that ultimately is how a successful team is built, is by people that have those qualities that you just said, right? And yeah, if you have a personal brand that speaks to that, like that literally is a personal brand. And that's, man, anybody listening, like what Jen just said, is if you do that, that will take you far in life. Like not just sports or whatever industry you in, just life, period. That will take you far. So
Side note, it's funny how in conversations like this, it's easy to bring up stories, but yet when you're in an interview and they're asking, like, tell me about a time you went above and beyond, it's like, crickets.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah,
It's funny too, like when Kasey was talking about being in the stadium and you feel like all these eyes are on you, although really the fans aren't there to see you, they're there to watch the game, you know? So I think it's like a funny feeling, but yeah, I it's definitely real. Like my experience interning at USC, you know, um, you might think that no one's watching, or oh, like you're doing the little things like what Jen just said, and you feel like no one is noticing. Like they're definitely gonna notice. And yeah, like my experience of just being there, and Kasey and Chris, I'm pretty sure they could chime in on this, but yeah, like they'll definitely notice. You'll hear comments, and like yeah, being recognized in that setting, it feels good. Like, and really at the end of the day, like you're not doing it for that, to get recognized. You're just doing it because you know it's the right thing. And I think that all ties back to personal branding, because like you recognize that it is a team sport, you're a team player. You're gonna do your part, of the job, and you're gonna do it efficiently, or you're gonna do it well, delivering good work. And that's like one theme that I keep hearing, from many professionals, like deliver good work. Like you keep delivering good work, someone is gonna notice and you're gonna start to move up the ladder, just like that. And at the same time, it's like have fun, and enjoy it. There's shouldn't feel like any type of punishment type of work. Yes, it gets hard sometimes. Yes, we do long hours like Kasey said, but at the same time, like, have fun. Also, too, at USC, I feel like we have a good group. So, hey,
Yeah, I think just to follow up with one thing Keashawn said, and then we'll jump into a final question. We need to make sure that we're not doing it for that pat on the back per se. Obviously, that's nice and it feels good, but like whether we work our butt off and no one notices, or we work our butt off and everyone notices, that obviously shouldn't change our hard work which I'm not saying any of us said that, but just kind of as a reminder, like, we're not in it for the attaboys. We're not in it for the pats on the back. Again, those are appreciated and we enjoy them, but that's not why we're in it. Just a final question to bring it home. I'll allow each of, or I'll let each of you answer. Let's say a individual just got out of their undergrad. They're looking kind of the next step, whether it's grad school or whatever that may look like. I know we hit on grad school a lot. That's all a field that we're pursuing. And they maybe want to start establishing that professional brand, that professional personal brand. And they come to you to kind of ask, how do I start this? How do I build the foundation? How do I kind of get this off the ground and get this moving? What would your advice to them be?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had this opportunity recently and just some of the situations I've been in, with internships, working at the Dodgers and stuff, just because naturally it's like, some of these people are younger, so they're just like in conversation asking. And I just think that the one thing I say is like get out there ASAP, like because that's what's going to help one build your confidence, which I think ties into like, your personal brand. Um and then just it's going to give you like more experience, even if you are like dabbing into different things. Um all of that is going to help build your brand up and obviously like just get you exposure, so essentially you're going to be building a brand just by meeting people. And I think if you are younger or whatever age, but I mean I think experience like comes with learning like about obviously the industry but also yourself. And so I think that all just comes back to like being able to really establish like your brand professionally. So I would just say, yeah, just get out there and get your feet wet as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think also network, right? Just you gotta dive in the deep end. Like you literally you have to, right? Find networking events to where you can promote your personal brand, right? Your personal brand is you. As soon as you walk in the door, if they say business casual, come like you going to a wedding, like so you might need to overdress just so you can stand out and be able to promote yourself and people know like, wow, this person is serious, about what they're doing. Like me and Keashawn just presented at Washington yesterday, right? And a lot of people there were, they work at Washington, they were kind of dressed casual, but we came in suits, right? And like ready to go, and like their feedback was like, wow, y'all were professional, y'all came in serious. We knew the way that you all would dress and the way that you spoke, that you took this project serious, you took what we were doing serious. And I think that speaks to getting your personal brand out there. So for any fresh undergrad, yeah, just go above and beyond with how you represent yourself and how people see you, and how you see yourself too. At is one of the biggest things. When you wake up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror, like not getting too deep, but it starts within, for real. It's a lot of reflective and self work that it's going to take for you to be able to build yourself up so you can network, and put yourself out there, because it does take a level of confidence to be able to do that. So that's the advice I would give.
Yeah. And for me, I definitely think that networking is, a huge thing. Like what Chris said, I'm introverted. I'm not the most outspoken person, but I I want to be like that, I look forward to like those opportunities. I want to get better every time, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like I think part of it too is kind of losing some of that pride, like, oh, should I go talk to that person? Should I not go talk to that person? Like, if you really feel like that's someone that you should speak to, or someone that you feel like, oh, I see myself like that, like, or you're inspired just by the walk or whatnot, just go for it. And I say that too, because like, yes, I'm a little introverted, but I've tried to like push myself, and like those times where like I did push myself when I doubted myself at first. Like after I had that conversation, I left with some very valuable information, and yeah, so I would definitely say, the networking definitely helps, as an undergrad. I would also say like do some research, figure out like what you can do, let's say before you start a master's program or any type of sport management program, because like the more experience, it's just gonna add to your confidence. And yeah, I'm what, maybe 3 months into my program, and I did a presentation yesterday at Wasserman offices, and yeah, like we're presenting on some pretty high level stuff, like where executives have long conversations about. And my group, we went and we did our thing and we did it well, and we got some great feedback. And I feel like moving forward, carrying that with you, now like I can give a presentation like this. I can speak, on these, like using business terms, or stuff with high stakes in it. Like you now believe in yourself because you've actually done it. And that comes with a lot of research, networking, and just like looking for those opportunities to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I think my response, and it's going to sound cliche, especially to Jenn, because we had to read this book when we started our program at Long Beach State, but it's finding your why. We all have a different why as to why we want to be in sports. Speaking for myself, my why as to why I want to be in sports is because I want to use sports as a vehicle to bring change and to change lives. And I think if you're able to find that why, and for some it may take less time and some it may take more time, but anytime when things get hard, you can always come back to, but this is why I'm in sports, right? So if I apply for jobs for a year, let's say, which I recently did, and kept getting a no and kept getting a no and kept getting a no, you still come back to the why of, well, here's why I want to be in sports, and my why didn't change. And so I'm going to keep moving forward and pursuing those things. And so I think if you can find your why, that's a great foundation for your personal brand. Why you want to be in sports, why you want to pursue sports, why you want to pursue whatever that career may be, is a foundation of your brand, because then everything can build on top of that, right? I want to change lives by being in sports. Okay, what does that look like? What does that tangibly look like? Where are those opportunities for me to do that? And so it's really just finding the why, and then I really feel like you can build your personal brand on top of that. So, Jenn,
Most
Chris,
definitely.
Keashawn, thank you so much for being a part of episode 4 of Thoughts on a Thursday. I appreciate you all for sharing. Appreciate you all for listening and watching, for those of you that are doing so. And we'll see you next week in another episode.